There's something deeply unsettling about episode 5 of the Testaments. And it's not just the ball, it's what the ball reveals. Because beneath the dresses, the music, the forced smiles, this wasn't a celebration. It was a marketplace. A carefully staged illusion designed to make something horrifying look beautiful. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. This episode, Monsters Ball, isn't about romance. It isn't about growing up. It isn't even about choice. It's about control, and more importantly, it's about what happens when that control starts to crack. The illusion of innocence is breaking. From the very first moment, we're told something is wrong. Agnes opens the episode not with excitement, but with confusion, shame, fear. She doesn't even fully understand what was done to her by Dr. Grove. But her body remembers. And that's enough. That's the first clue. Because in Gilead, trauma doesn't need to be understood to be effective. It just needs to be buried. And that's exactly what Agnes tries to do. She pushes it down, dresses up, plays her role. Because this night, the ball is supposed to be normal, a chance to feel like a teenager. But let's be honest. There's nothing normal about being dressed up for men who are deciding your future like they're choosing from a menu. The ball isn't a dance. It's an auction. The entire structure of this event is disturbing when you actually break it down. The girls, greens, plums, and even the younger ones are put on display, presented, observed, evaluated. And the most powerful men? They don't dance for joy. They select. This is where the episode becomes brutally honest about what Gilead truly is. Not a society built on faith, but a system built on ownership. And characters like Commander Mackenzie and Commander Judd aren't just participants. They're enforcers of that system. Even when they pretend otherwise, Agnes and Garth, a dangerous kind of hope. In the middle of all this darkness, the show gives us something almost comforting. Agnes and Garth, and for a moment, it feels real. Soft, genuine, human. When Agnes says, "So this is what it's supposed to feel like," it hits hard, because it's the closest thing to actual emotion we've seen all episode. But here's the problem. Even this isn't safe. Because in Gilead, love isn't freedom, it's leverage. And Garth's sudden rise, his promotion, his new status, doesn't just bring him closer to Agnes, it puts him in a position to own her. So the question becomes, is this a love story, or the beginning of something much darker disguised as one? Becca, the breaking point no one can ignore. If Agnes represents repression, Becca represents collapse. Because what happens to Becca in this episode is not subtle. It's not hidden. It's raw. She's drugged, overwhelmed, spiraling. And for the first time, the show stops pretending that these girls are adapting. They're not adapting. They're breaking. Her confession in the bathroom is one of the most important moments in the entire episode. Not just because of what she says, but because of what it reveals. She doesn't want to be touched. She doesn't want to be seen. She doesn't want the world to continue existing. That's not rebellion. That's despair. And yet, that moment also reveals something else. Her love for Agnes. And suddenly, everything becomes more dangerous. Because now Becca isn't just struggling with Gilead. She's struggling with who she is inside it. Daisy. The quiet resistance is growing while everyone else is trying to survive the night. Daisy is doing something far more dangerous. She's pushing back. Even in small ways. When she snaps at the commander who touches her, it's not just defiance. It's instinct. It's proof that she hasn't been fully conditioned. And that makes her different. But the real significance of Daisy isn't just her attitude, it's her connection to Mayday. The mention of the chocolates, the weapons deal, the quiet gathering of information. This isn't random. This is strategy, which raises a much bigger question. Is the resistance closer to Gilead's core than we thought? Because if Daisy is operating this close to power, then Gilead isn't as stable as it looks. Aunt Lydia cracks in the system. One of the most surprising shifts in this episode comes from Aunt Lydia. For the first time, her anger feels justified. She's furious about what happened to the girls. Furious that they were manipulated, drugged, and exploited. But here's the twist. She's not angry at the system. She's angry at how poorly the system is being managed. And that's what makes her so complicated. Because even when she's right, she's still part of the machine. Meanwhile, figures like Aunt Vidala and Commander Judd are already questioning her. Positioning, planning, talking about the future. And if there's one thing this show has taught us, it's that when people in power start talking about the future, someone is about to lose their place in it. Sisterhood versus survival. By the end of the episode, something subtle but important happens. Agnes and Becca reconnect. Not perfectly. Not completely. But enough. And that matters. Because in a world designed to isolate them, divide them, control them, connection becomes rebellion. Even joking about running away becomes an act of resistance. Even choosing to comfort each other becomes a threat to the system. Because Gilead doesn't fear individuals. It fears unity. So, who are the real monsters? That's the question this episode leaves us with. Is it the commanders, the system, the ants, or is it something deeper? Because Monsters Ball isn't just pointing fingers. It's showing how easily cruelty can be normalized when it's dressed up as tradition. How easily control can look like care when it's wrapped in structure. And how quickly innocence can disappear when no one is willing to stop it. But here's the most unsettling part of all. The monsters in this episode aren't hiding. They're smiling, dancing, leading. And the girls? They're the ones being taught to accept it. And maybe that's what makes this episode so powerful. Not the events themselves, but the realization that this isn't the worst of it. This is just the moment where the mask starts to slip. And once it does, there's no going back.